Hello, and we resume with Wide Angle. You know, there has been a statement. Islamic State in Jerusalem has said that it is responsible for the kidnapping of the 3 children. They have also said that they consider Baghdadi, they defer to him as their leader. Now, this has come to me through a scholar in Cambridge who's following these. What is all this? Have you heard of this?
I heard about it, and that is what I said. This is also the creation of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, is an American creation trained by the MI6 and also by the Israelis, and he was jailed in Abu Ghraib, released by 2009, though despite the fact that he had $10 million on his head by the American because he took the revenge for Osama bin Laden killing in Baghdad, and he carried lots of series of bombing.
Are you sure that you are not sustaining
No, it is available.
No,
it's available on their own report. Go and ask the CIA, let them come with the blueprint. I'm not thinking, whatever you listen to me, don't listen to me as an Arab. I'm a neutral here. I'm not on the payroll of anybody. Go to the American library and find out all these things. Everything is written there in the paper. Even if you know what's happening in Palestine is exactly what is the policy of creating. This is the Khalifa project written by the Central Intelligence Council, which is 123 pages. They have already documented, classified, talking about the Khalifa project in 2020. What is the most important part here is that Khalifa project has been created to make Israel more into Judaism, because Israel is Judaizing Palestine. There is no question of Arab in Palestine. It is just for the Jewish. That is the plan. So unless and until you create some more fanatics next to them, radicals, they cannot counter them with the reason of why they have to go into a Jewish state.
The agreement of mutual cooperation between Hamas and Fatah, between the Gaza and the Palestinian Authority. How much of that is at the root of this?
I think surely that's a factor. You cannot ignore that, and I think it's a major factor, because you see, this reverses what happened in 2007 when you had almost clear separate lines, Gaza under Hamas, and there was an internal, almost a civil war which took place, and the Fatah was booted out of Gaza, and West Bank became Fatah. So you know,
they lost the election.
And they lost the election. So in what happens, this unity factor which you talked about, in a way is a reversal of that trend. So you know, this is something, if you look at basically your divide and rule tactics, this goes against that. So definitely I would say this is an important political element in the entire story.
Well, that's what even Martin Indyk, he said himself, that he blamed this squarely on the Israeli administration, that they're behind the failing of the election, the failing of the talk with the Palestinians. Because one of the main conditions they put, that if you want to talk, there should be no unity between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority. Therefore, it has to be remain as a rift. But when we saw the reconciliation and plus the internal factor, thirdly also, which you have to add to discussion side, I believe the arm industry of Israel also is playing a major role, because if you look at the right wing in the United States who's supporting Netanyahu and the right wing hooks in Israel to stay, they are damaging really any kind of a peace reapproachment between the Palestinian and the Israelis.
Well, we are also involved in that, because we are buying a great deal of military technology from the Israelis. Yes, the arms machine is one thing that has to be taken into account. The another factor, the US-Iranian entente. And not just that. Firstly, the Americans sought Iranian help in dousing the flames on this Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Iranians said, well, we'll help you, but let us first complete our task on the nuclear issue. And therefore they flinched from that one. Meanwhile, the British, I was just speaking to William Hague, the Secretary, British Foreign Secretary. He says, yes, we are just about to open our embassy in Tehran. Now, all of this must also So therefore, all these elements must be taken into account, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. This is the regional factor is very important. We should not look at Palestinian issue in isolation. The radicalisms, the development in Iraq and Syria, it is also the buffer zone they are creating to cut Hamas and Hezbollah from Iran, and then reapproachment at the P5+1. It's all factors which plays in the region. Either we are going from a complete constructive anarchy to a mobile anarchy, or we are going to see some kind of a reapproachment between the United States and the West to ensure that the rhetoric from Saudi and the GCC come down, and they should have kind of a reapproachment. And because it's the time for business, everybody want business, everybody want investment. It's a time of failure. If you are able only to give those oil to the militia and buy it at $2-3, and you buy it as an India for $115, that means we are heading for Alibaba and the 40 Harami. But if we are going for other work to see more of reapproachment and a political kind of a settlement stability, then we need to sit down and declare our objectives. What is actually going to happen in the region? What is worrying me is it is the radicalism and the extremism which has been growing in this region. Iran is more vulnerable now than any time.
You see, one of a great the recent experience, United States. First, there was the canopy of the Cold War. Then one pole collapsed, and you had a brief spell of a sense of unipolarity. Now even that dissipated
Absolutely.
in 2008. Now you are going through a phase where the United States is the biggest power. It intervenes, it sometimes disrupts, it changes, but it doesn't have the capacity to control the aftermath. Whether it is in Syria, whether it is in Iraq, Mr. Kerry how many visits he has made to Jerusalem, and there was supposed to be a very, very tight secret agreement progressing. There has been no rabbit has come out of that hat, and now he is in Afghanistan, in Kabul, trying to sort out whether it will be Ghani or Abdullah, and therefore one has this sense of a power not being able to control.
You know, Said, I think made a very important point, because I think a new Cold War has begun, and it began once Gaddafi was killed, because that changes the behavior of the Russians and the Chinese, whose voting pattern we see changes in the UN Security Council,
Right.
and then you see a very robust intervention both by the Russians followed by the Chinese in the case of Syria, where the Bashar regime is not allowed to fall. Now this moves several theaters. Middle East or West Asia is one of the theaters, Syria and what we talk about, Palestine, etc. You have to weave in a bigger picture. There's Ukraine, which becomes another area of this rivalry. And then what Vail was saying, that Iran is not a country which they will leave off, or I don't particularly subscribe to the view that there's a permanent rapprochement with the Iranians which is taking place. There's a testing of waters at this time. Iran will have to take its call, because sooner or later, when it comes to the flows of Iranian energy, whether they are to flow towards Europe or they are to flow towards China and join the Russian side and maybe towards India, Iranians will have to take that call. It will happen. It has not happened now. And the choice which Iran makes will also define, in a way, its destiny. Because if it goes with the American and the European side, then probably you have postponed regime change project in Iran. But if it takes an independent view, I think the Americans and others are going to come back. So what we see are all patchwork. They are parts of the same narrative, which is taking place in various theaters. But if you want to unify it, it is a larger Cold War which has started between the Americans and the Russians and the Chinese. On the other side, we Indians will sooner or later will also have to take a call whether we align or we stay non-aligned or we join either camp. But we cannot just waffle around anymore.
We can't waffle, but look, I mean, this is a classical situation demanding a sort of a navigation between the blocks.
True.
And I have a feeling, I hope that is what is likely to happen. Now there's a little Indian angle to the story. These 4 young Indians have been located in Iraq who jumped the boat and want to be enthusiastic on behalf of this side or that side. I think they are with on Baghdadi's bandwagon. Frankly, if you ask me, it is not a significant story, but I've seen media running it again and again. So therefore, one might. Look, there would be. I tell you what happens. What happens is that you and myself, and all of us, we have become, as I said, blasé. What is going on in this instance? The Gazans, the Hamas, were shooting rockets in Israeli areas, urban areas. And they have, and we also know they have 10,000 rockets. These rockets have fallen, and what has been the casualty? Zero.
Yeah.
There is not one casualty. Injuries, there were 2 at one stage. Injuries.
They fell in the stampede. They didn't injure by the bomb.
Then, now you have the retaliation. In that retaliation, you are not only targeting the clinical targeting of assets, you are targeting, you are almost looking for collateral damage, and you're already 150, 160, and so this kind of, and there's a dehumanized world system which watches all this, and so some young people get moved, and on this side or that side. In the perception in Israel would be, let us all go and join the war against these people who are shooting rockets. The thinking on the other side is different.
I don't think, Saeed, internally, as I mentioned in the beginning, domestically, Netanyahu's popularity is not all that great, and there is, as we mentioned earlier, a generational shift which is taking place. You see, we talk about Arab Spring affecting the Arab youth, but there is an Arab Spring impact both on Palestinian territories, which again goes against Mahmoud Abbas and company, but there is also in a way an Arab Spring kind of an impact within Israel.
Absolutely.
So you have a change in situation and change in sentiment which is taking place within Israel itself.
I am, thank you very much, Vail. Thank you, Atul. We are at the end of our discussion because we generally do run out of time. I suppose we talk too much. The basic thing here again is that a new source of trouble, a new source of problem in that area has arisen in the form of ISIS. What this animal eventually will evolve as, we do not know. But 1 or 2 signals are available that this evolution is not being liked in Riyadh, and it is not being liked in Jerusalem and Tehran. So there is something there which nobody likes. Then how is it there? On that next time. Thank you very much.